Just to start off the session, this session is about Grove's dSOC, which is a tailored service for Darktrace. I thought I'd spend maybe a few seconds just on what Darktrace is. So essentially, Darktrace is an NDR solution, network detection and response. Most of you will know a lot about Darktrace. It's all about nowadays about the Darktrace AI loop. It refers to that continuous adaptive cycle of detection, investigation, of course, response. And this is all powered by a very powerful artificial intelligence or AI engine. This loop that we're looking at right now is central to how it keeps its effectiveness in identifying these threats and also mitigating these threats in real time. So just as a quick overview of what Darktrace is, and then most customers start off with the detection component of Darktrace, in other words, finding, identifying, and then responding to those threats. And then the customer's path or journey usually progresses to the prevent part, which is sort of a forewarning about events happening outside of Darktrace that could have a potential impact based on threats, identified threats internally. And then the heal component is about restoring the environment to a safe space. So with that, I'm going to switch straight now to Grove's dSOC. So a few points about the significance and the long-standing relationship between Darktrace and Grove over the years. So we've been a partner of the year, a very prestigious award, 3 years running. We've been a partner since 2018, and that's quite significant because back in the day, partners like Grove did a lot more. We were responsible, for example, for the sizing call. We were responsible for the initial feedback sessions, and we were also responsible for the installation and so on and so forth. So we were in a very good position to learn from that intrinsic involvement with Darktrace. All of our analysts that I'll be talking about, the people that make up this team, are all certified by Darktrace. They go through a 12-week rigorous learning program. At the end of that, they become eligible to write the 2-day Darktrace analyst exam. We have customers on the dSOC across many parts of the world. So we not only have a perspective from a Darktrace point of view, but also from different regions, different territories, and also different industries within those different regions, which gives us an edge on a lot of different providers in the same space as what we are. Beta contributor, good point to mention here is that we've been part and parcel of the Darktrace roadmap. We are often invited to participate in beta programs and so on and so forth. So I'm going to talk about the value proposition, and this value proposition is, as we see it, what are the most valuable points about Grove dSOC? So first and foremost, we're a purpose-built wraparound service for Darktrace. So with that said, our service focuses on Darktrace. So we're not, for example, going to draw intelligence from other sources outside of Darktrace. Whatever Darktrace receives, that's our source of intelligence. Now, having said that, one thing to note is that Darktrace has been on quite a strong integrations drive. And what that means is that other systems, EDRs, for example, other NDRs, they all, once they integrate, can contribute to the intelligence that Darktrace has within your environment. So typically an EDR would have a lot of intelligence about your endpoints. Darktrace would ingest that. It becomes enriched data to what Darktrace has already found, and we're able to report on that quite effectively. Time to value, very important. So many organizations might have or intend to go on a full SOC journey. Now, organizations will realize the value of going full SOC, but it's a long process. You've got to ingest logs from all locations, all systems, en masse, all the time. And you could take an approach that could last a couple of weeks, if you're lucky, months, quarters perhaps, and in some cases, rare it may be, sometimes years. And it's all about choosing that ingestion process. Now, in contrast, if you onboard dSOC with Darktrace already in place, we're able to leverage all the learnings, all the acknowledgements, all the information, all the intelligence that Darktrace has gathered about your environment will be readily available to us when we do our analysis within your space. So that's quite important. Time to value. Literally after a few days of config and setup, you get your first IOC, indicator of compromised report. Maximize Darktrace investment. So Darktrace is a premium product. It's been a game changer in terms of cybersecurity analysis. And with that status or that tag also comes a premium price tag. So if you're going to dedicate a big chunk or any chunk of your budget towards a single tool, it's important that you maximize the benefit. And that's exactly what we do. We want to harness all the benefit and pass it on to you. And that comes with our years of experience, our territories, or across many territories and different industries. It all comes into the dSOC service that we offer to the market. Unique response SLA. So we have an SLA, of course. We are, all of our response is governed by a service level agreement. So our response times are guaranteed. You have, for example, a P1, P2, and P3 SLA, which is 60 minutes, 4 hours, and 24 hours, respectively. For the most part, we respond within minutes rather than hours, particularly on the P2 and P3 across all of our response times. We've proven over and over again that our times far exceed expectation when it comes to response in this space, and that's key. If we're going to play in this space, cyber, we need to have very strict and fast response times. Achieve the full Darktrace cyber maturity scale. So effectively, what this means is it's the shift from being reactive to taking a more proactive stance. And there's a graphic that Darktrace has made available. And if you look on the top left, you'll see there it says level of interaction. That means the amount of time you spend in Darktrace. And at the bottom here, we have the level of proactiveness. So the more time, the more proactive you're going to become. Now, in the beginning, when you're new to Darktrace, you rely heavily on the automation. In other words, you rely heavily on the AI analyst, you rely heavily on Respond, and that's fine because that is what Darktrace is designed to do, to catch those threats and to mitigate them as quickly as possible. Machine speed threats, it's machine speed response. Darktrace is at the moment the best at doing that. But that's okay in the beginning because you're dealing with those threats. But it's also important to understand what the cause of those threats are. What is my landscape like? Why am I having these events? Why are they occurring in my environment? So when you delve deeper, you start looking at higher scoring devices, top scoring model breaches, and perhaps you look interested in the attack phase investigation. And in doing so, you identify areas of risk. In other words, higher scoring devices, which machines or which systems are the most likely to trigger events. Then model breaches, top scoring. Where are my vulnerabilities? This is what this will unearth in your environment. What are my vulnerabilities? And then attack phase investigation gives me a very good idea of the dwell time within my organization. How long are these adversaries in my environment before they launch an attack? This is all good intel because that means you get to the next level where you are very proactive. You are taking the existing models that Darktrace has developed, those ones that are applicable to you. We know that Darktrace has developed over 600 models. Not all of them will be applicable to your organization, but those that are applicable, we can enhance them. We can either cast the net wider or narrow it in if we're looking for something specific. And that's really where you're trying to, or not trying to, but you will achieve a level of proactiveness, and you'll be able to predict future risk by analyzing what your Darktrace gives you. And the reason that I'm showing you this, of course, is that you'll see a little apple that represents growth. When you onboard dSOC, all of these services are part and parcel, or all of these capabilities are part and parcel of our dSOC service. Proactive 24/7 monitoring or active monitoring. So our services have always been 24/7. That means that if we send you a report on any particular day and you wanted to query that or ask a question, you could reach out to us via telephone, via email, and log a ticket with us. Our team of analysts would then engage and we'd get to the bottom of that particular query. Now, recently, about a year ago, we launched 24/7 active monitoring. The difference here is that we will call you in certain circumstances. So Darktrace, like I said, have developed over 60 models. 45 of those models are called enhanced monitoring. And this is usually where something serious is happening or is about to happen. And in these cases, whenever they're triggered, we would make contact with you and go through the process of mitigating. Our aim in these cases is to isolate and prevent further harm. So that service can be coupled on top of what we already give you in terms of the IOCs and the response and recovery and so on and so forth. The next point talks about cyber skills gaps. So this is something that is quite rife in the environment. We see a lot of gaps in the skills. If you consider the amount of effort and time you need to invest in building a team, it can be quite a tedious process. Now, how we circumvent that is we offer a multi-layered approach to our resources. So the first level, of course, are the team that you would be exposed to daily. They are responsible for compiling those daily IOC reports. Above that, we have the second level, which is also your first point of escalation. So usually when there is an investigation, our second level of analysts will deal with those queries and run that through the entire process. Again, all of our analysts are Darktrace certified. And then, of course, the top level is where we have the second point of escalation. This is usually our subject matter experts, a lot of experience and a lot of skill. And they're also the people or the analysts that will run the threat hunting and optimization session. These sessions are scheduled on various timeframes. So, for example, some customers prefer them weekly, some prefer them fortnightly, monthly, or quarterly. It depends on what the customer really wants. And we find that in the beginning of the engagement, our customers prefer to have them more frequently. And as we progress and the security posture increases or improves, we have them less frequently, of course. So that's our take on how to de-risk that particular skills gap. And then the last point I want to talk about was the cost. So we reckon that if you consider everything I've said, 24/7, 24/7 implies that you have to have a team of resources available. If you consider the cost of recruiting these team members, skilling them up and keeping them skilled up, and therefore also trying to retain them, can be quite a process. So all of those elements considered, our dSOC service comes at a fraction of what you'd expect to pay for building your own capacity internally. I think what we want to talk about now is JK is going to give us some insights into some of the operational viewpoints that he has in dealing with our customers daily. So JK, over to you. Before I go move there, Bianca, have any questions at this stage?
No, there aren't any.
All right, great. Thanks, Bianca. Thank you, Chris. Just a quick apology from my side, as it is typically with these things. My camera did work in the preparation for the session, literally just before we started, and then just failed a couple of minutes ago. So apologies that you can't see me. I am one of the more handsome people at Grove, so would have liked to show my face, but looks like it's not going to happen today. Great. So just in terms of the operational insights, in my role, I was key in building the dSOC service. And in order to do so, we did spend quite a bit of time and research reviewing what standard SOCs do, and kind of decided that we wanted to enhance that experience in terms of dSOC. Something we did notice with security for a very long time already, companies would opt to for technology over research, which obviously is a smart move. You need the right technology in order to protect your environment, but the resource still plays an incredibly important role within the security environment with any organization. Now, usually what companies would do to rectify this is to get outsourced help usually in a form as a SOC, obviously. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but SOCs tend to be very heavily process-driven, very cumbersome, generally very large when it comes to the resources they use, human resources they use, and processes and playbooks tend to be very cumbersome as well. And our vision when we built dSOC was to try and make things smoother, easier, more agile. Now, it's called dSOC for Darktrace SOC, but I kind of feel that there's another way to look at that, where we're trying to dSOC SOC, meaning we're trying to make it more agile, more quick, more simple, and really just, kind of get around all of the red tape and just deal with the problem, that you as a customer might be dealing with. Um, just before I get into the insights, specifically, just a quick point on Darktrace, something that makes Darktrace very unique and something that we have fairly recently started as well with dSOC and Darktrace is the integration point. An example on our side is we have partnered with CrowdStrike, so we have reactive CrowdStrike services, but we also put focus on the integration that we can do between Darktrace and CrowdStrike, meaning even though dSOC is a Darktrace-based service, we leverage and use the information that we get from the CrowdStrike side because of the integration in our investigations, in our daily analysis, et cetera, et cetera. So the more things we're able to integrate with Darktrace, the better it is and the more valuable it is in terms of the information dSOC can provide back to you. And all of this information is gathered from Darktrace with the additional intelligence provided by these integrated services. And all of this really is a simple idea we had years ago to kind of make things more efficient and more valuable. And we have really reached that point where dSOC is able to provide its full value to customers. Now, just a couple of points here in terms of the differentiators. Chris, just move one on. So our first one is communication enhancements. Very little what we do is automated. Obviously, it is a security service. There is some automation involved. But in terms of us speaking to you as a client, everything there is done by actual people. We don't have any automated reports. We don't use no reply addresses, et cetera, et cetera. When you receive something from a human, meaning you can reply to that or you can speak to that particular analyst, whatever the case is. If you need more information, want to clarify things, there is no reply or no automated reports within what we do. Now, just move on to the next one. Now, because of that communication, we tend to build up personal relationships with the security teams or the administrators that we work with. It means that we have a very sort of easygoing relationship or easygoing communication with customers. Again, kind of adding to that agility that we bring within the service that we provide. Just next one there, Chris, please. And then the final point in terms of the differentiator is we have a manned 24/7 support. If it's not clear by now, we value that human aspect. I mean, Darktrace, very heavily AI-based. CrowdStrike, very heavily AI-based. You obviously, that's very definitely where the technology is going in terms of cybersecurity within organizations. But even with that power that you get with the AI, you still need that human element. The human still provides extremely valuable information and assistance with pretty much everything related. Now, what that means on our side, in terms of the man 24/7 support, is we do have somebody or multiple people on shift 24/7. You will never find a time where a call just routes through to some automated service and inverted commas somebody will get back to you. When you phone in 2 o'clock in the morning, you will speak to a person. Right, next one there. Just the extension that our experts provide within your team. I mean, that obviously is a very big factor and value point with dSOC. We thrive with smaller teams, because you as an organization, most organizations don't have a dedicated SOC team or security team, and even if they do, the focus isn't purely on just what Darktrace provides. Obviously, you have tons of other responsibilities and focuses and things that needs to be done within that department. And I mean, doubly so or tenfold so in some cases where there isn't a direct security department, where it's just their IT guys literally trying to deal with everything IT related, and security kind of becomes just a section of their responsibility. And that's again where we thrive. Our dSOC team becomes an extension of your team. We work very closely with you and the rest of your security team and your IT team. And then there are certain things that we do from our side that enhances the value we get both on the security protection and the actual services as a whole in terms of Darktrace and whatever else is integrated. Now, one of the big things in doing that is our health checks. We've always believed prevention is better than cure. We do a 24-point monthly health check on your Darktrace environment to make sure the visibility as it should be. We're seeing everything you should be seeing. The blocking system works as it should. Any kind of changes you've made within your infrastructure, we will pick up and assist you to expand or extend the visibility. So we obviously see any new environments that you've added within your estate. And we've actually seen right at the start when we started with dSOC, before we actually had the health check service implemented, we were fairly busy helping customers with actual critical breaches, where we see that pretty rarely now because we focus more on making sure that everything works as it should, therefore preventing you from getting a breach in the first place, as opposed to actually investigating the breaches. I mean, that does still happen occasionally, depending on how the configurations are set. And obviously, we have the security team expertise to deal with that. But we have seen a drastic reduction in critical breaches with customers since we started doing this health check process. Let's move on to the next one there, Chris. An interesting point, and I really like this one, is just the way our guys can use Darktrace. I mean, Darktrace is designed for a certain thing. It looks at your internal network. It looks for anomalous behavior. It will block that, and obviously our guys assist you with understanding whatever the system is reporting. But we have managed to use the system in a way that it wasn't even really designed to be used as. A good example is we assisted a customer with investigating a really big fraud situation that they had at their organization. Obviously, I can't name names or anything, so it's going to be pretty vague. But we were able to use Darktrace to help this customer investigate the fraud claims that they had, and as it was quite exciting actually. We were on a really big call with multiple providers with this customer investigating. We took the lead in that investigation because of the power that Darktrace gave us in terms of seeing the logs, being able to deep dive on a packet level in order to investigate. And while we were on the call, as we were getting closer to identifying let's call it the suspect, that particular person was on the call as well, and just suddenly we noticed the CISO, the CIO, and another person of the team drop off on the call, and all of us were kind of sitting around for about 10 minutes, kind of wondering what was going on. And then I got a message from the CISO saying, thank you for all your help. Because of the information that we used in Darktrace to trace this suspect, that person actually confessed to the two EXCO members, and investigation done essentially. But that was a really great example of an active investigation, an active live investigation we did using Darktrace for something that Darktrace strictly isn't designed to do. Next one there, Chris. Thank you. Now, this kind of comes back to the communication enhancement and the relationships, etc. But like I said, we tend to build very strong relationship with customers. Most of our customers receive our daily indicator of compromise report. So we have that daily communication with customers. Our analysts, as they work through our customer base on a daily basis, tend to build up a deeper understanding of their environments. They understand what the business does, as a business. They understand where certain things should happen because of the nature of the business, and obviously other things that shouldn't be happening, again, because of the nature of the business. And that's purely because everybody works in all of our analysts, rather, let me rephrase, all of our analysts works on all of our customer environments on a daily basis. So it's very quick for them to understand that this particular thing they're looking at is very atypical for the nature of the business that we're monitoring. And then the final point there, Darktrace, because of the work that we do, Darktrace is always foremost in our customers' thoughts. It is in most cases the strongest security system that the organization has, where other things are integrated into it, as I've mentioned earlier. So it is very much the, let's call it the, sort of the pilot seat in terms of the customer security services that we will, man or pilot for you in order to make sure that your system is right. You know exactly what's going on at any particular point. And in the, like I said, sort of unlikely event where there is a really severe breach, you have people on, on standby or available immediately in order to assist you. Excuse me. And just the last 2 points there quickly. So Chris did mention the certifications. Obviously, in order to become a dSOC member, you have to have, at the very least, the Darktrace analyst certification. I mean, that is what we do in dSOC, is the analysis side of things. But usually when the guys get that, they tend to do the other things as well. We've got a couple of guys with the engineering certificate as well. We've got a couple of guys working on the antigen email one. So as the guys get the certificate that's required, they're so interested in what the system can do and what we can do for our customers that they just tend to do the other certifications, even though they're not strictly required for the role. They just want to do those anyway. And then just the final point there, Chris. Now, there are a couple of companies around the world that do services for Darktrace. They do this usually in two ways. It's either just, reactive product level support. So if something in the service doesn't work, or maybe there's tracking issues, or, maybe the blocking system doesn't work, they obviously help a customer with that more from a reactive perspective. Or we get customers that, link Darktrace up with their full SOC service, and then you kind of back to the very clunky, heavy, sort of process-driven and playbook-driven SOC, which again, like I said, is fine, but it has its bad points in terms of being very red-taped, clogged, being very expensive. And we kind of found that niche in the middle there, where we are the only customer in the world that does Darktrace report to this level, where we're effectively using Darktrace as our SOC system, even though, again, it's not really designed for that purpose, but we kind of just sort of force it to work in that way. And we're able to provide SOC level support while not strictly being a SOC. And obviously the value that you get with that, with us being a lot more agile and a lot less expensive to use. Right. So thank you very much for that, Chris. Yeah, if anybody has any questions on these insights, on the points that I made, I'll be more than happy to answer that. But I'm happy to then hand over back to Bianca or back to Chris.
Cool, thanks, JK. I just wanted to share this screenshot or this note from Francesca Bowen, who is with Darktrace. In her current role, she is the Global Vice President of the Cloud Go-to-Market. And when she made this statement about us, Grove, she was the Global Head of Partnerships. And I just want to read that quote out. So Grove has, quote, Grove has invested heavily over the years in building out their sales and SOC services with Darktrace in order to deliver our technology at incredible speed and scale, or scale and speed, delivering a partnership with innovation and excellence at its heart. So I think that's quite a sterling endorsement of not only of Grove as a that has a very strong sales acumen, but also from a services point of view, Grove has been a partner that has shone over the years. The next thing I'm going to do, unless there are any questions, I'm going to start a video. It's about 3 minutes, and it is an extract of a webinar that we held earlier this year. It's about 3 minutes and 22 seconds, so I'm going to start that right now, and then we can take some questions at the end of it. Just to give you some insight into what this video is about, we have a customer in the Netherlands, Sense. We're speaking to David Bussam and Paul Barch. Paul Barch is the guy who does most of this, all the speaking. And we've asked him a couple of questions. What is your overall impression of dSOC? How have we seamlessly integrated into your existing team? And then the last question we put forward to him was, why would you recommend Darktrace and dSOC together? So let me start.
When you're looking at Darktrace, of course, Darktrace is a great product. I mean, it gives you visibility, it's fantastic. But as a small organization as we are, I mean, small, we're about 150 people in about 6 locations anyway. We do not have the people so to run actually Darktrace and have the ability to monitor like 24 hours a day. So that's what we're reaching out to Groove in that part. When we're starting with Groove, the integration for us, when you're looking at our operation, it's fantastic. Yeah, you are our third pair of eyes that looking over our shoulders and gives the ability to us to understand actually Darktrace better. You never have enough resources, but also, let's be honest, if the resources want to change its job, for example, then tomorrow I'm not really in having a problem with that. Huh? Of course I have a problem with that and Nathan's going to leave, but guys, I know that you are going to help us because we are not lost in that case. So if something is happening, we're going to talk about it. You're gonna reflect on it. I see that something is happening, and again, you are my third pair of eyes in that. The second point is knowledge. We have IT as a global, so we have more knowledge parts on every case, but we are not security specialists. So you have the knowledge, and that's an important point for me. Again, already said 24 hours a day. That's an important one for me also, because yes, what you're saying, security is important. And it's not only on workable hours for us, it's 24 hours a day. Yeah, this guy is not going to breach me at 12 o'clock in the night because I'm sleeping. That's not the case. That's also an important thing. And again, what I said, I'm glad with the third pairs of eyes that looking over our shoulders and is part of our team.
Right. So yeah, thanks. That was the video I wanted to share with the attendees today. Bianca, do we have any questions from the attendees?
We don't. We have no questions. I don't know if anybody had any last minute questions to raise. But no, I don't see any questions in the chat box.
Good. So we will be sending out a copy of this session to all who registered. And with that, I'm glad to say that I've given you back, or we've given you back 6 minutes of your time. Thank you for attending.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for attending. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, JK. Thanks.